will ask each of them to say a little bit about themselves, the company that they work for, and just one little brief, item with regards to why you're so experienced in this particular subject.
Hi, my name is Neeraj Arora, and I am new to this industry, but not new to profitability. I have been optimizing revenue and profits in multiple verticals, including finance, insurance, asset management, and in telecom as a consultant before joining Telecom, which is basically a firm that enables any intermediary in this area to do their business better, to better operations, better billing, better understanding of revenue and profits.
So with that being said, we'll dive right into it. The first question that I have is if you guys could name 3 ways your solutions are helping partners actually increase profitability.
Sure. So first, I want to make sure that we're aligned in what profitability is about. So you can think of as getting more profits from the existing revenues. You can also think of increasing your revenues so that a lot of your fixed costs get spread over or spread thinner, which in turn increases your profitability. So we work or help with our partners in both areas. So I would say the first thing is expanding what you can offer as a service to your client. So integration across various services is the thing that is happening. There's a lot of convergence. And if you're providing one kind of service, we help you provide another kind. You want to move from VoIP to mobility or vice versa. You want to do a SaaS offering. You want to get into cable management. Whatever you want to offer as a channel partner or an MSP, we are able to expand what you offer to your clients very easily. Second, even for your existing services, there is a lot of revenue leakage that can happen either through incorrect pricing, through stuff where you don't have enough flexibility to offer the same thing to various customers at various prices, because really price elasticity is a thing. Not everybody wants you to drive prices down. Some customers are willing to pay more for things you have. So our systems make it very easy for you to have differentiated pricing across your customers and avoid revenue leakage. And the third thing I would say is by making your operations a lot easier, you reduce the overhead expenses in terms of manpower or just downtime that happens in your business, where our systems are very helpful.
Next question. So, as we're talking about profitability, we're talking about customers, right? In some cases, the two could kind of clash or look as if they're going in different directions. So what advice would you give to partners who are struggling with just trying to understand how to balance, profitability and customer satisfaction, right? Because the two don't always go hand in hand.
I would add on to that and actually go back to Jason and what you said in the first instance, which is about long-term value. So investing into customer satisfaction gets a very bad rep for 2 reasons. First one is often what we think of as customer satisfaction. People think of it as a soft metric. And just based on surveys or one-off discussions with few of the clients, we often end up investing in the wrong area. So it's very important to be investing in the right stuff that truly drives customer satisfaction. The second thing about long-term value is that even though for the first year or the second year or maybe even the third year, your margins take a hit because of your investments, you will more than make up for it, not just in terms of what you're getting from your existing customers, but the way you're able to acquire new customers as well. So if you take 1.1 or 10% improvement over 5 years, that's not a 50% improvement, that's multiplicative, that's 1.1 raised to 5. Okay? You end up with 60, 70, 80% improvement, especially if you bring in new business. Instead of getting a 50% increase in revenues, you might get a 200% increase in revenues. So one has to look at the math over the long term. In the short term, yes, it's going to be effort. Nothing is going to come easy. But you have to believe that what you're doing is the right thing, and then you have to be in it for the long run.
I like that concept. It's almost like, if I have to sum it up, there may be some short-term sacrifice for long-term success, right? Like you say, look at that from the long game perspective. Since you brought it up, Jason, the next question is, what role does AI and just automation in general, do you think is having in helping partners both lower costs and increase efficiency, and both of those which will ultimately, as you would expect, increase profitability? Just using your solutions as an example of how they can contribute to that.
On this one, I'll just take a different view, specifically with respect to AI. I believe that everybody wants AI, including the people we are serving and the people that they are serving. But one has to be careful about what it can or cannot do. And I think the value of AI is a lot, but we might be chasing after the wrong aspects of AI, because we want to put AI in everything. So we have to understand it cannot do everything. It's a service that's excellent for language models, might not be the same thing for our operational usage, for really understanding the nuances of the industry or a particular client. So as long as you're not blindly chasing after it, I think it's going to be good. But that's my worry, that we think it's going to solve for everything, and I just don't think so.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it needs to be not a shotgun approach, but a very focused laser approach to your customers, identifying specific measurable outcomes for them. 95% of AI projects end up failing because what we buy is not necessarily what we get, or it's not meeting our expectations. So I agree. It is about taking that time to understand, are we selling something that's going to make an impact, or are we selling something that's going to just deliver a short-term profit? And if it's the former, then we're going down the path. 100%.
Specifically about what you can offer partners, right? And how specifically your programs can help them from a profitability standpoint. Can you give any details on any unique incentives or rewards that you feel will actually directly impact your partners' profitability and help them reach their goals from a profitability standpoint? So I'll start off with you, Neeraj, on this one.
Sure. And maybe I'll just take a different view of what you mean by incentive and reward. I think the biggest incentive and reward we give our clients is ease. The systems are designed in a way that make it very easy for you to do what you want, when you want, and the second thing is transparency with your own customers. So from a customer experience perspective, one of the things I learned across multiple different industries, and our industry is not different, is transparency is extremely important. If your customers know exactly what's going on with the service, with how you're providing it, how accessible you are, that goes a long way in building confidence and trust, which is extremely crucial for any kind of customer experience. In that way, I would say, because our systems are easy to use, we make sure that a lot of the things we do, for example, in terms of billing and reporting, whatever you see is what your customer will see, of course, assuming that you want to be able to give those rights to them. The ease of business and the transparency are the biggest things which we have seen our customers appreciate because their customers appreciate that. Just as what you just said reminds me of this story that I love. There were 4 people who were breaking stones. And the 5th person walks by and asks them, what are you doing? The first person answers, I'm breaking stones. The other guy says, I'm making a road. The 3rd guy says, I am connecting city A to city B. And the 4th guy says, I'm making it possible for dear ones to be together when they want to. And to your point about, hey, are we giving them telephony or PBX or X and Y? that's where a lot of the world often is breaking strikes. Our effort, honestly, is not at the fourth person yet, but we try to make sure you're either building roads or you're connecting city to city.
Yep, exactly. And we can help define that and understand it better.
So my next question, as you're looking at the resources that you're providing to partners and people that you're working with, right? What can you do to directly affect and help them when it comes to things that are affecting them, here, macro or micro? And for example, profit killers is what I would call them. That can include like higher costs, right? Component shortages, tariffs, other things like that, which ultimately they have to think about and it's affecting everyone online. So, what things, resources, enablement, guidance, advice would you give to partners that are thinking about all these other different things, micro and macro, and they're affecting their profitability?
From our perspective, the biggest help or the input we provide comes from, I would say, a separate strategic engagement. So a lot of the pricing systems happen on a tier basis, either on a volume or a usage, subscribers or usage base. And there are certain strategies that work better than others in how you want to price. And that works both ways, what you're paying your vendors as an intermediary and what you're charging your clients. And we provide bespoke services on that front to help you maximize the profit.
So I know we have like 3 minutes left, so that being said, I will give each of you 90 seconds to give the audience one piece of advice that they can take from you based on your experience that will help them, most immediately or even long term, right? If you have both short term and long term ways to boost their profitability. I'll start with you, Neeraj.
So I would say, it might be very mundane, but definitely look at your books, understand your customers on a marginal profit basis. So you have to really understand how you're making money, why you're making money, and how you want to sustain. And a lot of times it could mean less short-term profit, but you have to be focused on providing ease of use to your customers. Because ease is one of the biggest wrenches you can build around retaining your customers.
A great way to sum it up, and if I would add a nice little kind of put it in my own words, it sounds like the best way to kind of reach your goal of profitability starts with understanding the people that are actually contributing to that the most, which is your customers. And being able to initiate conversations with them, to grow relationships with them, because not all the time are they going to come to you to do it. You have to go to them and initiate those conversations to truly understand what their needs are, and that will ultimately drive a better relationship and also more business for you overall. So that being said, I want to thank our panelists today. Appreciate you guys. And I'm sure they'll be around and be able to talk to many of you guys afterwards as well. So thank you all for attending this session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.